Well, it was interesting to listen to Ashish and the tension between investors and the board. But I can assure him that he's never seen any tension until he's been to a family board meeting. So, our shoe company is a traditional Yorkshire-based family business. We have no external shareholders, and very luckily for us, no debt at all. And these days, an almost pathological fear of ever borrowing anything in the future. I think the reason I'm stood here is that I represent the opposite side of the spectrum to most people here. I represent the light side of honest, hard-working, organic success, whilst the banks and venture capitalists and debt are on the dark side.
I protest.
I must say, the larger and more successful we become, the easier it is for us to talk about never borrowing money again and the evils of building a business based on debt. But the truth is, my mother started the business 40 years ago, solely based on debt. Probably not the level of debt most of you would like to raise or currently live with, but it seemed a lot to her at the time. She approached the bank for a £200 loan, and the bank insinuated she would be better off at home. So, being the stubborn woman she is, she then said, would it be possible to have a loan for a £300 settee that I've seen in the shops? And they said, you can have 70% for that, and £210 was in her account within the hour. And surprisingly, they're still our principal banker. So over the last 20 years, we've managed to grow our core business by an average of between sort of 15 and 20% a year, all through cash flow and retained profits. Our turnover is now more than 70 million, from about 90 stores spread across the UK, Ireland and the internet. And we also have a growing presence as a joint venture in India. But back in the late 1990s, I saw the potential of the internet and formed a company called shoeshop.com with the aim of becoming the largest one-stop shop for shoes in Europe. This was pre-boo.com going out of business. And all the major venture capitalists were desperate to invest in any internet company that was there. This was funding a ridiculous land grab for internet users at the time. The whole idea was that internet retailing should be a very low-cost operation and therefore a highly profitable way of retailing. Boo.com seemed to forget this, and they were flying people about first class to the States. They were sending products across the States for photographs to be taken by leading photographers. They were paying £200 a shot, taking 6 shots of each product. And then, because we were all on dial-up modems, they had to compress the thing and nobody could see the difference. So it was a ridiculous waste of money. We started off with a sensible business plan at that point, but with each meeting with some of the biggest advisors, biggest venture capitalists, we were told, ask for more money. You need to ask for more money. And if you don't know what to do with it, just add it to the marketing budget or say it's for European expansion. Back then I was probably naive and believed these high-flying venture capitalists and banks with millions to invest actually knew what they were doing. I think we've all learned that they don't. Sorry, venture capitalists here. I believed you bought product, sold it, made a margin, and built a sustainable business. I had no ideas about the joys of pre-revenue business models and all those businesses that have no customers. What I've found is that most venture capitalists and bankers invest in the same way as the old IBM adage. No one ever got sacked for buying IBM. And as long as enough of them are investing in the sector, they will all follow lemming-like towards average performance. It was so ridiculous at one point, I said rather than spend all the marketing budget we had been talking about trying to grab a large slice of a small pie, why didn't we just sell £10 notes for £5 over the net, and we would soon acquire all the customers and email addresses we needed at far lower cost than we had in the business plan. As we were going through this funding round, Boo.com went bust. And overnight, from having a number of people fighting over us, it went to everyone saying, we like the team and the idea, but we can't invest in that sector now because the internet's not going to be profitable ever again. So What did we do? We went back to the original plan, which was self-financed, and consisted of 3 people working out of a small office and a small warehouse. At the same time, in America, Zappos.com was launched. Curiously enough, by a guy from Manchester, so they had the same plan and raised $10 million from investors. So what happened to us? We have very similar early growth levels, and we communicated a lot in the early years. We remained self-funded, and after 4 years, everything had to be financed through cash flow and profits. Zappos took on more funding rounds and were growing rapidly without making a profit. Shoe Shop began making good margins and growing quickly. Zappos took on even more funding and continued growing quickly without making profits. Last year, we merged ShoeShop.com into the main Pavers business at a valuation of around £10 million. Zappos was bought by Amazon for just short of $1 billion, making the founders around $200 million. This led me to ask myself a few questions, really. Did we do well building a Did we do well building a £10 million company? Or did self-funding and sensible business principles like profit is sanity, turnover is vanity, cost us £100 million in exit value? I know it's not always that simple, because lots of the companies that got funding and grew quickly went bust, mainly due to poor business plans, poor cost control, and all the general reasons. There should always be funding for good ideas presented by an able management team, but there isn't. Often this is because the extremely well-paid guy sat holding the purse strings on the other side of the table probably has very little idea what you're talking about. And if your proposal isn't in a currently sexy area, you've got no chance. Now, the interesting thing is, I'm in the same position again. And that's why I called him an extremely well-paid guy rather than something more disparaging, just in case we need him stroke her. We've launched our footwear in India now, and we've got 6 of our own stores, and we're operating in 100 department stores. So far, we're growing rapidly and are modelling ourselves on a company I've worked with in China. They've gone from a small factory 20 years ago to a listed company valued at £9 billion today, with 11,000 shops in China, all based on the growth of consumer demand in an emerging economy. So far, we've built a factory with a large research and development centre that allows us to develop product and respond to Indian market conditions far quicker than any other foreign brand, and even most of the domestic competition. We've just added a second production line and are now employing around 800 people in India. In my opinion, the opportunity in India dwarfs anything offered by the internet 10 years ago, and makes it incredibly important that we get our strategy right. Though as with the internet, there will be many casualties. So far, we've invested just short of £4 million, with a further £2 million allocated for the next couple of years. We will undoubtedly need more money in a couple of years' time to keep up with the planned expansion. However, this time, the difference in making the right decision will be between a £100 million and a £1 billion company. So what are we going to do? I wish I knew. I've got no clue. So I believe we can probably squeeze another few million from my board and from our joint venture partners over the next few years. And I believe an IPO is the best route in the medium term for us, solely because of the achievable multiples for retail in an emerging economy. These are anything between 60 and 100, and I'm not sure that they can be matched by any other form of financing. The great thing is, retailing in India is a very sexy sector at the moment. And when we talk to the big funders, my experience from 10 years ago is really useful. I now ask them to prove to me how taking money from them and me doing all the hard work will increase my value in 10 years' time. Thank you.